Hello everyone, JaredEal96 here is back again with a brand new creepypasta to read to you all. Today we're going to be doing a sequel to one of my favorite creepypastas abandoned by Disney called Room Zero. So this is a sequel. If you did not see Abandoned by Disney, if you've not seen that video, I will link it in the description below. So let's start Room Zero. It's been a while since I've written anything related to the Disney Corporation. And I'm sure you can understand why. A lot has been going on since my last post. I received a lot of questions and concerns from folks who read my first-hand account of Mowgli's Palace, a resort that was built and abandoned by Disney. I wanted to thank everyone who mirrored my post. It's been taken down from a few places, mostly corporate sites that were easily lean on by a larger power. However, for every nuked topic or disappearing blog post, it seems like 100 have popped up. This is something that they'll have to face. There's no turning back from them. For them, none for me either. I'm definitely being followed. For the first month or two, I chalked up to paranoia. Any casual glance or half smile in my direction set me off. Hair standing on the back of my neck and everything. The first one, or rather the first one I actually was able to spot, was a telephone worker milling around my apartment complex. He was a middle-aged, doughy, dressed as you would expect, but something just seemed off about him. I couldn't place it, but I knew there was something, just my imagination acting up. He was awkward and out of place. Not somebody who was comfortable doing his routine job. I followed him around a corner and only to lose him there. When I turned back to go home, there he was, staring directly at me, about 10 feet behind me, expressionless and cold. "Exploring?" he asked. That was all he said, and there was an accusing tone in his voice. "Tell me, what blue-collar phone jockey does that?" I guess that was the worst part. Never feeling safe, never feeling alone, that and the occasional Disney merchandise left somewhere for me to find, little rubber Mickeys in my mailbox, and a Disney Adventures magazine on my bookshelf. They hide little Mickeys everywhere. 3 circles, 1 big, 2 small, in the silhouette of the famous mouse's head. I started to keeping a running list of Mickeys I found. Coffee cup rings are on my coffee table, 1 big, 2 small, colored glass bottles and left on the doorstep, viewed from the top down, all red, graffiti on the wall. On my way to work, a huge earth, small sun and moon in the proper locations. They're everywhere. People have emailed me about this as well. If you repost anything I had to say, you're going to start finding those sons of bitches outlines. I guarantee it. The best one by far, one of the actual made me laugh because of the horror of it all, was a drawing in chalk next to my car. I was taken aback at first, walking through the parking garage, keeping an eye out for people following me. The outline seemed like a perfect match for, well, a murder victim you're probably familiar with if you've read my past posts. Written in yellow paint, I'm sure, was a single word: retract. The only good thing that has come out of all of this is that I know I'm not the only one who's seen something that they shouldn't have. I'm not going to give their names because, well, if I had to tell you why, you haven't been paying attention. Researcher goes to Disney parks whenever he can, all throughout the year. He's not going to have fun, enjoy the rides, etc. He's looking for the gas guts. There's been a long tradition, apparently, of people reporting strange patrons throughout the park. Silent, motionless, staring patrons of every age, shape, and size. Men, women, adults, and children and teens, all wearing Disney-themed gas masks. Way back when, Disney would get a ton of complaints about oddly dressed folks following others around the park. Folks who then would merge into crowds and disappear. Later on, the gas masks caused folks to draw on other conclusions, and reports of possible terrorists or bombers started flowing. All those reports most likely went straight into the trash can. I know I can't find any sign of such occasions reported on by the media, although you should be aware of the fact that Disney can pretty much control its press like no other. Researchers goes to the parks talks to a few people, and tries not to draw any attention to himself. He'll just ask 3 or 4 families if they seen his friend who was wearing a quote-unquote funny mask. He has yet to see a gasket for himself, though on one occasion a child pointed toward him from Town. As he raced through the crowd, he heard a single voice cry out, "Mommy, I want a goofy air mask too!" A fellow I called lifeguard worked in the Disney water park from 2001 to 2003. He stood at the top of a huge water slide and made sure none of the kids got too rowdy. He passed the kids through and went one at a time, telling them over and over again to be safe, keeping their arms in, and so on. One day, as he tells it, this fat kid goes down the tube and doesn't come out the other end. He sent 2-3 kids after. The whole thing moves at a steady clip, so naturally you expect that if a fatty got stuck, the kids that followed him would stuck too. Not so. Only the big kid disappears. Everyone else comes out the other end cheering and splashing like nothing's wrong. Lifeguard shut down the slide, much to the aggravation of the kids waiting. Before he can go through any of the Disney's strict procedures, splash! Fatty finally comes out. Staff members pulled the kid out of the water. He sank like a stone when he hit, his skin already blue and his eyes wide. All he would say was, "No face kids," and "Stop squeezing." The kid was okay, in case you were wondering. He got carted right off to the medical center. When lifeguard was told to open the slide back up, he made a big stink about how it was clearly not safe. Despite his complaints, he was threatened with firing and begrudgingly opened the slide again. From that point on, he kept a closer eye on the kids. Every so often, they come out in a wrong order, never as stunned as the fat kid, but always with a vague look of concern, a dreamy half-stupor that seemed as if they were trying to figure out what was reality. They take on some water and choke a bit, and they never come back to the ride again. I read his emails and with the same sort of unease that you might be feeling right now. I wanted to share his own story, but in the end he didn't want to expose himself that way. So I can't say I blame him. Snow White, which wasn't the actual role she played, she was a character in the park. She had a nice little tidbit for me. You know what happens when a costume employee drops dead in a suit? Like, one second he's taking a picture of little Jimmy, and next he had a fatal stroke. A second costume mascot in the area has to sit with a corpse on a curb or bench and wait for a designated dry cleaner to arrive and cart the body away from in a discreet manner. All the while, patrons have no idea they've been sitting with a dead body for photo ops. Feel free to check your photo albums at this point. That was bad, but another fellow janitor went completely off the creepy charts. Disney World, and probably others, is built with a series of underground tunnels just below your feet, 3 stories worth. Anything and everything you can imagine is down there for use of the employees. They are called utility corridors. Basically, that's the reason you don't see characters out of place or janitors wandering through the park. They pop in and out of hidden doors and travel like a sealed town you're walking in. Janitor told me something that might be common knowledge, but was nonetheless news to me. Walt Disney had several apartments built in the park, into his parks. There was one above Cinderella's castle, there's one in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. They were all over the place. More than that, there were nightclubs, a movie theater, a bowling alley, and much more, all behind doors built right into the whimsical facades that you pass by without a second look. Club 22 is one such hidden area. If you had to have the cash to join the exclusive club, which you don't, then you'll have the access to it and much more. Club 22 is a place where anything goes. Disney Company calls these places dark zones. Spots where the squeaky clean visage of Mickey Mouse gives the way to drinking, drugs, and yes, sex. Conversely, the rest of the park is the bright zone, with a few gray zone utility between. As far as a janitor, he has said, it wasn't always that way. It was more of a slow decline and a gradual relaxation of social norms within the elite group. The reason he knows all of this, you may have already guessed, he cleaned it. After a lengthy background check of a non-disclosure form, janitor moved up from the park attendant and to one of the dark zone cleaning crew. Now, before you can get some satanic human sacrifice vision in your head, janitor has saw nothing of this sort. Lots of empty alcohol bottles, yes, used condoms scattered like deflated New Year's balloons. Oh yeah, he cleaned up his share of blood, piss, and vomit, but it was all down to the unrestricted behavior of patrons as opposed to any sort of cult behavior. At least that's how he sees it in retrospect. All that trash, that profane shit, went into the furnace and mingled with the smoke of the quaint cottage chimney. If you've been to Disney World, you breathe ultra-condensed sin. Backing up this information was Hammer. Hammer mailed me the old-fashioned way, though I don't know how he got my home address. He sent me photocopies of work papers proving his employment, with the instruction to burn him when I was convinced, which I did gladly. Hammer worked around the Disney World park doing demolition and construction at one point. He approached the superior regarding some strange construction plans. There was a wide rectangular area marked off on the blueprints about the size of a supermarket. The area was left unnamed and only bore the words, "Do not dig." Not only was his superior in the dark, but he was super fucking purposely in the dark. He didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to know about it, and ended the conversation with this space intentionally left blank. Hammer didn't get it. The area seemed a waste of space, and it was directly conflicting with the work his team had been given. He started poking around the area on his off time, finding only the direct steel door and a great span of concrete just beyond. It was a supermarket's worth of blank gray floor. Soon after, Hammer started picking gaskets out of the crowds. Unlike all other reports that the people, the things would stand in full view of the guy, they clustered together in the distance, or they just been pressed against a wall when he turned a corner. He said they moved weird, like they were weak or injured, like a deer that's been run down by a hunter and can't flee anymore. The gas masks, the Disney character faces with filters jammed in. He noted that they had seen wet on the inside with condensation on the car window. Tiny beads of water glimmered behind the glass, making it impossible for any of them to actually see. Probing further, Hammer started asking questions of anyone and everyone who had been working in the park for a decade or more. He hit dead ends throughout until he was directed to Ida, an elderly woman who worked in a restaurant on Main Street. She had been there since way back, and nobody had the balls to ask directly. Everyone knew she had plenty of terrible stories to tell. Hammer asked about the empty space, and then about the gas mask customers, and then at first he thought he would receive the same non-answers he'd gotten so far. She was quiet, eerily quiet. "Room 0, she croaked, a single shaking hand placed onto her cheek as if she was a little girl fearing a father's punishment. She didn't meet the man's gaze for the entire conversation. Room 0, as it turned out, was yet another hidden room just like the apartments in Club 22. However, its sheer size and spot deep beneath the park set it apart from any of the fun dark zones. It was a bomb shelter. Room 0 was built to withstand a massive attack, be it conducted by foreign or domestic enemies. Room 0 was to be stocked with enough rations to feed the entire park's average number of patrons at any given moment, and housed a small yet lavish panic room of sorts for Disney higher-ups. During World War II, official Disney gas masks were actually produced for children to wear in an event of an attack. The idea that it would be less scary for kids if Mickey's face was blazoned on a wartime safety device. Yes, I knew the obvious problems with that. During the Cold War scare of the 60s, when Disney World was constructed, Room 0 was stocked with similar masks as well. Whether they cared about the fears of children or just call-us branding, the things found their way down there. What's more, some genius decided that kids would then be frightened by the gas mask their parents wore. And so all masks, adult and children, were made to comply with this insane standard. Ida described its treating a wound with lemon juice. None of this explained what Hammer had been seeing, though. Not only of the seemingly supernatural appearances, but the emptied out room as well. "I've been in there," he explained. "There's nothing about the cement floor and four walls." "No," Ida shook her head and covered her mouth, stifling a sob. "You've been on top of it." Someone or something sounded the alarm one day. When the park was at full capacity, the warning was clear. It was supposedly an air attack. Security ushered everyone down into the tremendous shelter. There, they were ordered to put on the masks and hunker down for the duration of the assault. Everything was quiet for about 30 minutes, save for the crying children and frightened whispers. No one wanted to die. So, they were thankful in a way for this strange measure of safety. Then, the first scream rang out. "Hey!" a man shouted. "Quit pinching!" Waves of shrieks and yelps rippled through the crowd, from one floor to the other, back and forth. "Who's running around? Who's running around? Set it down!" Someone hollered. "Who's laughing? This isn't funny!" "Ow! Who stepped on my foot?" Despite security guards urging to calm down and keep their cool, the crowd became more and more agitated until finally, after nearly an hour of madness, the lights flickered, then died. What followed could be only described as utter chaos. In the dark, only the wails of the young and the anguished cries of adults could be heard in a massive swelling din that bloodied the ears of all within that black echo chamber. A group of staff members and select patrons made it out of the door, ready to face the war above rather than the insanity below, when they found, of course, was a desolate yet untouched theme park. The music continued to play, echoing through silent storybook towns. Upon returning to room 0, the few who stood at the top of the steel staircase that led down into a pitch blackness heard no sign of the previous fray. There were only silence. Ida herself descended that staircase despite the begging of those who she left above. She reached the reinforced doors, herself a rash of darkness and hearing only the buzzing in her ears. A single voice came out of the darkness. The echo made it impossible to whether the mocking, raspy voice was at the back of the bomb shelter, or if it was just right in front of her face. "Shut the door, dear. You're letting out the cold." Gripped by terror, she did just that. Within days, the entire thing, shelter, staircase, all of it, was covered with feet upon feet of cement. Air systems and generators above its ceiling were removed, creating a large empty space. They all still down there, Ida told Hammer. Down with whoever that was. "You might have noticed I used Ida's name. Unfortunately, she passed away soon after telling her story. Accidental fall, or supposedly, after getting out of bed to turn on the light. Such a company devotee," the paper reported, that her entire bedroom was covered with Mickey silhouettes. My god. Looks like Slime Beast, the author, did it again. First, Abandoned by Disney, now Room 0. Fantastic. That was awesome. That was pretty good. To be honest with you, this is an awesome creepypasta. A great sequel. Better than that Dead Bart sequel. It's awesome. Pretty much it's awesome. I like the fact that it did mention it did continue this trend of trying to expose these hidden secrets that the Disney Corporation tried to expose Disney Corporation's secret activities. So I like that fact. First of all, I really have no knowledge of seeing anything that says dark rooms, or I've never seen any dark zone doors. I've heard of the Utura doors, but I really don't know if Club 22 or Room 0 really does exist. It gives you that fear that it might exist, but it does give you that creepy factor. But what I liked about it was the fact that maybe if anyone, what I liked about it was that if anyone would tell, like any Disney employee that works at Disney World who sees these things are pretty much told that if you tell anyone about any of these secrets, you will be killed. So pretty much when Ida, that elderly woman that was telling about Room Zero, when she got killed, she was pretty much killed by Disney hitmen with those Mickey silhouettes. So it was kind of cool that they added that fact of, oh, you pretty much, when you are employed by Disney, you are pretty much signed your own death warrant. So that's pretty cool. But that mocking voice that told Ida to shut the door because you're letting out the cold, that's pretty much a return of that crazy photo negative Mickey from the Abandoned by Disney. So that was kind of like a return of that thing, whatever that was. So that was pretty cool as well. So that is pretty much it on Room Zero, the sequel to Abandoned by Disney. Coming up next is the fan sequel to Abandoned by Disney called A Tape from Treasure Island, or A Tape from Discovery Island, because that Treasure Island had two names. First it was called Treasure Island, and then it was renamed to Discovery Island. So that was all. So that will be next. So what things would you change in this creepypasta, Room Zero, to make this even better? And can you please comment down below if you think this is real? Would Disney just do this, kill their own employees for telling the secrets of what they really that they don't want to have known to the public? Do you think that would be the case? So this is JRDale96, and if you like what you saw, then like, comment, subscribe for more creepypastas. JRDale96, and I am out.